Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Shadow of the Colossus playthrough. So, one Colossi down, it's time to head on to number 2. And as Doramin said, he's down by the beach. Which is, it's basically behind the temple here, so we are going to have to do a little bit of exploring. And really that's a lot of what the game is. It's exploring these forbidden lands, trying to find where the Colossi are, and then the other part of the game is taking them down. You're going to spend the majority of the game running and riding on aggro, but it's a fun thing to do. So what we just got told about there are these sort of prayer stones, and they are effectively your save points. You can save at any point in the game if you want to. You can do a manual save. But what this does is that if you die at any point, it will take you back to there. So when you're exploring the world, if you just so happen to die, you know, like I did after falling through the scenery, it'll take you back to your most recent location that you prayed at. I believe there are a grand total of, I want to say 25 of them in the game. You're not going to see all of them in this one. This is just a playthrough. This is my first time through the game. There are certain things that I did try to do, but whether they succeeded or not is a different kettle of fish. But the whole sort of gist was that I just wanted to experience the game and for you guys to see what my first experience was like. Because, you know, one of the things that I have done a lot... So, the majority of my playthroughs are post-comms. This is also, you know, post-commentary, because really I am no good at talking whilst I'm playing. And also, especially when it's dealing with games that I've never played before or what have you, when I'm playing a game, I want to get the best possible experience out of it. And really, me talking over it whilst I'm doing that is not how I kind of get my enjoyment. So, and the other thing is that the majority of times when I choose a game to do commentary over, it's because it's a game that either means a lot to me, or that I've had a lot of fun playing, and that I want to share with people. And I've only ever done a blind, like a first playthrough once, and that was New Super Mario Bros. U, actually. And part of that was because I thought I want to kind of 100% this as best as possible, but I don't feel like I'm actually going to be able to want to do it again afterwards. So that ended up being one of those instances where I thought, you know what, let's give it a try. But this is really the first time where I was coming up to a game and just thought, I want to capture my first experience on film, just because I think that it's going to be much more interesting for me to talk about, because there are so many things, like there are so many playthroughs of this game on YouTube right now, so many, because the whole way YouTube works now with a lot of gaming content is that you've got those kind of selection of huge YouTubers who just do all the new games the second they come out, and that's their thing. Great. For the most part, that's not something that I really want to be joining to be part of, because I'd rather play games that I know I'm going to enjoy and that I know a lot about, or I know a reasonable amount about, which is going to make my content hopefully more interesting for the people watching. But for this game, it felt like, one, I didn't really have a lot of time following. What did I just beaten before then? Oh yes, I just finished replaying the entirety of Okami HD, so I hadn't really had a lot of chance to have any footage after the end of my Super Mario Odyssey playthrough, and so I was running slightly low on content. And then also, I was really excited for this game and just really wanted to have that sort of fresh experience and do that whole thing that most people would normally do on YouTube these days, because it's a fresh take for me, and I think that it'll lead to hopefully some more interesting tidbits and so on and so forth. But here we have our second Colossus. This is Quadratus, and Quadratus is the first Colossus that can be fought with aggro. It's not necessarily entirely recommended, because you're gonna... The way that you take down Quadratus is that you run behind him and you shoot at his feet in order to get him to fall over and then be able to climb on top of him. But it is easier said than done. But the thing that's terrifying about Quadratus is that he's actually the second tallest of all the Colossi. He's huge, because he stands at a rough height of 98 feet or 29.9 meters. And yeah, so he's just huge. And Quadratus is also kind of one of the main icons of the game, because he appeared in most of the promo pictures and adverts. And in general, I think he was probably one of the easiest things to sell people on the game, because he's a very good example of the types of Colossus throughout the game. But, I mean, let's just have a moment for the stunning piece of music that is Revived Power. It's... oh my god. I cannot praise this piece of music enough. It may perhaps sound a little bit too heroic to some people for ultimately what we are perhaps doing, but my god does it sound amazing, and it really makes you feel good and really makes you feel powerful whenever you get to that point when taking on a Colossus. Now, one of the things that I will point out is obviously I have decided to play the game in normal mode because obviously wasn't quite sure what to expect fully in terms of actually playing. The key difference between normal mode and hard mode is the number of weak spots in each of the Colossi. So, for example, Quadratus in this phase, where in normal mode, has 2 weak points, one on top of his head and one at the end of his back, which are about 50% of his health in total. On hard mode, he's got 3. One on the top of his head, one at the end of his back, and one on his left side, and they're about a third of his health each. So, yes, and also, Quadratus's developer nickname was the Mammoth. I mean, I do sort of see the mammoth-ness in him, but either way, he's just a pretty awesome example. And I just cannot get enough of revived power. I really can't. Now, one of the things that it took me a while to figure out is that you have got to have your sword out when trying to find the glyphs. Took me a while to get to that point, but obviously once I got to that point, I knew from then on exactly what I was doing. But it's just one of those things where you're learning as you go, and really that's part of the whole gist of Shadow of the Colossus. It has got a number of rather video gamey elements to it, but it's based on, for me, where there's a whole thing of minimalism. I'd say Shadow of the Colossus is pretty much the most video gamey of the 3 that he did, or the 3 games that he's really known for, because Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. I do need to play those at some point as well. But it's that whole thing of you've got just about all the tools that you need and nothing more. It's all about you versus the Colossus and figuring out how to take it down. They're basically giant puzzles, and that's really awesome. And I mean, just once again, revived power. Oh my god, it's beautiful. But there we go. Quadratus has also been defeated. And try as we might to run away, there is no escape from the black tendrils.